Welcome to the Grounds for Success podcast. I'm your host, Austin Seltzer. Together, we'll unveil the keys to success in the music industry. Join me as I explore my guests' life stories and experiences to uncover practical insights to help you align with your goals more effectively. Hey, coffee drinkers. Welcome to the Grounds for Success podcast. I'm Austin Seltzer, and I'm a mixing and mastering engineer with over 10 years of experience in the music business. Today on the show, we have Jack Griffo. Jack is best known for his leading role in the TV show The Thundermans on Nickelodeon. He plays Max Thunderman. And, today we're going to talk about not only acting, but his music career, where he's the frontman of Kid Baron. Jack has won several Kids' Choice Awards, and he's also been nominated for some teen awards for his role as Max. I met Jack while I was producing a film called Don't Log Off, directed by the Bear Brothers. Sterling Bowman is the one who brought me onto that, and I got to meet Jack through this experience where he's playing one of the lead roles of this film. Can't wait for you guys to see it one day. In this episode, we're going to cover so many things, so many wise little nuggets, but a couple of the little highlights that we're going to talk about is how did Jack get the audition for the pilot in the Thundermans? I think that this is a really cool story, and it shows a lot of insight on maybe how you as either an actor or some other creative can use perseverance and just being in the right place to get a job. And then, of course, you have to deliver with talent. We hear how Jack met many of his friends like Ariel Winter, Luke Binward, Sterling Bowman, and I got to know all of them on Don't Log Off, but we learn about how they all kind of came up together and were in a friend circle. We also learn about how Jack just doesn't post everything going on in his world on social media, kind of like why he distances himself from that. But we learn how he's going to use his band, Kid Baron, to really spread who he is with his fans and those around the world. Ultimately, we hear from someone who already has reached great success. I mean, the Thundermans it's a huge show. But how does somebody like that continue to persevere to become the best version of themselves? How does somebody like that continue to try and achieve more and still be authentic to himself? I think that that's a beautiful lesson from this episode, and I can't wait for you to hear it. All right, let's get caffeinated. My brother and caffeine.
Dude, this is really delicious.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. I mean, can you do that without alcohol?
There's alcohol in it. There's not, but
I've heard it's bad to cheers without alcohol.
Is it?
Superstition. I mean, you must be into the superstitious. I mean, look at this place.
Yeah, this place definitely looks like I am deep into superstition. I actually wear the same, pair of socks every single time that I do a podcast.
I thought you were about to say every day. I was like, that's cool.
That would be so rank.
Yeah.
Holy crap. No, but is that actually a thing? That you're not supposed to cheers without alcohol?
It is a thing. Yeah.
Dude. Whatever bad luck that brings, I've been doing it forever.
No wonder. None of this place is haunted.
Yeah. People say that they see a phantom in that picture up there. And
get out of here, bro. Get out of here. I just saw it up there.
Yeah.
You did that.
I wish that I could pan to that.
You did that.
Well, yeah.
I'm like, no way.
There's a remote,
You got me for a second. I thought there was not a phantom there. I mean, there's not now, but it's you. It's Austin all along.
It is.
Now, do you do the check when you have a beard? Do you check it on?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you do that?
Yeah, definitely.
I only picked that up a few years ago, and I'm 26, so
yeah.
I feel like I was a little late to the game. Everyone's checking their drink. I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, especially with a shot. If you don't do that with a shot, that's bad luck.
I don't really take shots. I'm such a pussy.
I don't really either, but I've taken more than, I probably should. I've taken a whole lot of shots.
I don't know. It's just, it feels great, but it's so bad. It tastes so bad, and it's not, worth it to me. You know what I mean? I guess the past 10 years, I would much rather get a little high than drink because I feel like the next day is better. I like the inebriation better. Yeah, I'm not the biggest drinker.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome. Honestly, I love smoking. I would say that I don't smoke a ton, but I don't know how you quantify that.
Yeah.
But like,
not copious amounts.
Right. Like I legitimately will take a hit because I feel like it hits me more or harder than other people. And then I'll play, like right now I'm playing Diablo 4. I'm just having a fucking blast with it.
Nice.
So I'll mix, I'll be working on a track. And then whenever I'm printing it down, which for those listening just means like I'm taking it out of my computer and putting on Dropbox or whatever so we can listen on the phone or speakers. And then I'll go up and I'll play some Diablo. I'll kick some shit out of demons and whatnot, and then I'll go back. But
when I came here when I was 13, I never smoked, which a lot of people at 13 haven't smoked. But that changed very quickly, when I got to know people and, kids, teenagers running around like they're smoking weed,
Right.
And right away I was just like, I can't believe that I've been missing out on this, And so for 7-8 years, it was, I was sneaking around trying to do it, and it created a whole part of my life that if I could go back, I would not do, truly. And that's one thing that people ask me when, if you could give advice to your younger self, I would say I would never have picked up weed, to be honest. Yeah. Because it really took away a lot of my ambition as a youngster. Yeah. And now that I'm older, you can think about what if going back and what then, but you really can't. You gotta look forward. But when I do, what's the word? Not recollect. Reminisce.
Same.
Is it?
Recollect. Yeah.
On the past, I'm like, wow, I wasted a lot of time. And so, it's inspiring now for the future. You know what I mean? I feel like when I turned 25, like it's true what they say about like your frontal lobe cortex. Is that what it is? When it develops like fully, like my decision making, my worldview, like everything I thought about everybody. And I think slowing down on the weed contributed as well. But also just turning 25, brain developed, everything changed last year. Like I started thinking about the future. I started thinking about what I really want, which is such a big thing in life. Like, what do you want? Like I started this life coaching thing, and the second session, maybe it was the first session, he was like, 5 years, what do you want in your life? Like, no, nothing is too big. Nothing's too unachievable. Like what's Jack's perfect life? And I started doing that to my friends. I started like life coaching my friends when I started life coaching. It's like bleeding into my life. And, I'm just a big believer in like whatever you want in life is available for you. It's real. You can touch it. You can feel it. You can taste it. Literally whatever you want, even if it's not happening to you yet. If you want it and you're doing the proper things you need to be doing to achieve those goals daily, then you are that thing already.
Yeah.
Like one of my friends just the other day was telling me he just turned 23 yesterday. And I was just telling you I was DJing his little party at his studio.
Yeah.
And he was telling me like, he just got out of a relationship, and that was a big, burden off of his shoulders, I feel. And he was saying, I just can't wait to be like full functioning. I can't wait to be that guy. I feel like I'm gonna get there. And I'm like, just be it. Like, stop trying. Like when people tell me like, oh, I'll try to do that. It's like, there's no try. Like it's
Dude, you
just,
and I are the exact same person.
You know what I'm saying?
I have this conversation all the time.
It's only do and be.
Yes.
And if you're in that, if you're living out of there, fruit will begin to pop up in your life.
Yes. Wait, I I have to pause this real quick. We have to go back because there was so much information there, but
I just spewed.
But it was great. There's so many great nuggets already. Dude, I resonate with that so hard. There are so many people that I talk to that, yeah, they'll just ask for like simple advice, like, how do I make it in the music industry? How do I become a mix engineer? I'm like, you just do it. Like literally today, start telling people that you're a mix engineer.
Right.
Or if you want to be an actor, start telling people I'm an actor. And of course, there are so many things that you have to do to become
Of course.
the person that's on screen, especially something that will resonate with people and will be seen by people. But starting today, you are that thing.
Yeah.
And now every single day after you are that thing, and you are going to put in the time and effort it takes to become that version of this thing, but you are already it.
Of course. And it starts with you. I think a lot of people, that same friend I was just talking about who had a birthday, we were talking about our other friend, our other mutual friend. And we were like, yeah, he's kind of struggling right now. Like he doesn't know what his direction is in the industry and this all this kind of stuff. And I was thinking about him, our mutual friend, and thinking about his life and his sort of worldview. And I was like, I think his problem is just that he's thinking too much about what his direction is in the industry instead of what is his direction as a person. Like it starts with you. Like if you start taking care of yourself, getting sleep, being healthy, all the things that you want your life to look like on the outside will start to grow with you if you start with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just know too many people that constantly smoke and they tell me the things that they want to do.
Yeah.
But I see them not doing it. So that was great. But I want to ask, because I've always been interested in this. When did you get the life coach and how did you find a life coach? And tell us a little bit about what that's like.
Well, it's a new thing. It's not something I've been doing for a while. I got connected to this company through a church pastor, actually. It's not like a Christian company or anything, but this guy who used to be a pastor at this church here in LA, I know him, I have a relationship with him, and he basically connected me to this company, and I have this kind of young guy. He's like my age, but he's super great, and it's just taking inventory, really, of your resources, your goals, ways you're getting in your own way, and how to get out of your own way. We're so powerful, like we have free will. We have these spacesuits that we got, however some years ago, and we're spinning on a rock in space, paying taxes. It's an anomaly. Maybe. I mean, I think there could be other planets out there.
I love how the one thing that you said was taxes.
I mean, it's crazy that we have this structure, and we get to be here.
Totally.
We should talk about school field trip. There's been a couple of times already that I've kind of almost gotten in there.
Please. So for those just listening, I have a chalkboard always behind the guest and they write down, anything that they want. And Jack wrote school field trip in what looks like definitely the best chalk drawing you've had so far.
Thank you so much.
It's quite beautiful.
I was telling you, I'm not even like a visual artist. Like I really struggle drawing and painting. So it's funny you say that.
I mean, pretty good.
I put my all into it.
I saw it.
How do you interpret it?
A school field trip?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God.
What does that make you think of?
Hilariously, the first thing that came up into my mind was Magic School Bus.
Little before my time.
Yeah, I
know. I know of it.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I just showed my age, which I feel like I'm like still super young.
could have watched it. I feel like there's some things that I could have been on, but I just kind of missed the bus.
But don't.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Okay.
But what does it bring up other than Magic School Bus?
I mean, it brings up really whenever I was maybe in like daycare And we each week would have a couple different activities, but there was the one day during the week that we would go do a school field trip. And sometimes that would be to like a gymnastics place, or that sometimes that would be to this little really shitty theater, this dollar theater that your feet would stick to the ground, like because people spilled soda and they never cleaned the ground. But it was so fun because we got to go out and explore and do something, and there was no rules. That it was just
Yeah.
like,
That's perfect. It's so fun. You get to go out and explore and do things, and there's no rules.
yeah.
That's exactly it. So I just heard this morning. I wish I could take credit for this. This is not my idea. But it's the first thing that came to my mind when you told me to write something down, because it was powerful and impactful to me. This guy was on my Instagram feed talking about how people can't get up in the morning. You know, it's so hard to get out of bed. And it's something that I can relate to. Sleep has always been a thing for me. I always want to sleep, love to sleep the day away, you know, and it's just terrible. It's just so bad. You know, it's half your life, you know, just in the bed.
Yep.
And I get so much more done when I'm up in the morning, you know, but it's still hard. At 26, I'm gonna be honest, it's still hard. Sometimes I still sleep till 10, 11, and it's just like, what am I doing? And this guy said this on my feed, and I was like, wow. He said, people have so much trouble getting up in the morning because of the routine, the mundaneness, the cycle. Do you remember what it was like when you were in elementary school, though, in school, and going on a school field trip? And he said, you were up. You were up out of bed, ready to go. You're ready to take on the day. You're ready to do something exciting because there was something unexpected about to happen. And you need to live life like that unexpected thing is right around the corner. Expect the unexpected, and you will start to be able to have motivation to get up and seize the day. I was like, wow, like school field trip. That's a cool kind of motto. Because I loved my school field trips. Like I can remember going to the Renaissance Fair, and I can remember going to the Science Center, and I love adventure. I love the unexpected. And when he said that, I was like, wow, I can see that, you know, getting out of bed and trusting and knowing that there is adventure out there for me, and I should expect the unexpected, and I should go forth and leave the house, you know, really. I mean, there's, you know, you got social media and there's a lot of things, but really, like, it's out there, you know. I was just talking to my friend, not my friend, this girl I met at the birthday party last night, and I was like, what's your deal? You know, like, what are you doing here? And she's like, well, I just moved here like a year and a half ago. And I always like asking people like what their dream is. And it's pretty straightforward, but it's like, there's not a reason to be out here if you don't have a dream. It's too hard. You know, it's too expensive, difficult. People can be bad, and you have to have big goals. And she was like, well, you know, I want to be in entertainment. I want to do it all, you know. I'm like, do you want to be an actress? Like, you know, and she's like, well, like, I don't know. And she basically just kind of culminated it to, I just want to be independent enough to travel. And I resonated with that big time, because especially here in America, we like our things the way we like them. And we don't like to deviate, you know, we don't like change. And we don't like to kind of see any other way of doing things. And when you go out and go forth, like we were just talking about, there is so much perspective to be gained that is only gonna make you a better, more well-rounded individual. And that's why I'm so grateful to Nickelodeon and the show and the fans, because I did get to travel the world a good amount as a 16, 17, 18-year-old. And those experiences, I've had a lot of crazy, awesome experiences, but those experiences still to this day are the ones that I really accredit, is that a word?
Yeah.
To who I am. You know what I mean? Even those short little trips, you know, whether they're a week or 2 weeks in South America or the UK or Australia, and just seeing a different way of life. The way and it's obviously similar to ours, you know what I mean? But it is very, very, very different. The way that they treat each other, you know, the food that they eat, you know, their religious practices, you know, the respect. And, you know, America it's amazing. We have so much freedom and I love this country, but as well, it's the freedom also comes at a cost. We get carried away. You know, this is an amazing country, and I don't know if I would want to live anywhere else, to be honest. I haven't spent enough time anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done a whole lot of traveling as well. And every time that I get outside the US, I gain so much creativity and new experiences that I can channel into things that I love back here.
Hmm. Makes you so excited to come back for work, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But dude, yes, school field trip, what a nugget.
Right?
Like whenever you were telling me the story of like this guy explaining why don't we just become closer to our inner child whenever we did have field trips,
Yeah.
I immediately saw myself as a kid jumping out of bed because I knew that day I was going to like some kind of science exhibit thingy or going to that skating rink. Dude, I mean, I used to skate like crazy, like rollerblade.
No shit.
Yeah. I mean, I was very into that, but that was my favorite field trip.
Yeah.
Was whenever we go there because I just love that. I loved little races that we would do. I loved randomly you could get pickle juice on ice there, and I loved that.
What? No way.
Very Dallas thing.
Wow.
But whenever you said that, I was like, damn, I need to think of my life more that way and just do little novel things in the morning.
Yeah.
Can't always be like I meditate and I go to the gym and whatnot, but then that becomes not novel if that's all you do.
Exactly. And it brings up this other point of like, this kind of has to do with like art in any medium and feeling inspired and being excited for your day. And like, how do you get yourself in that position? Well, you got to find the things that make you tick. You know what I mean? You got to find the things that excite you. And for example, like I've only been songwriting for 3 years. I loved music my whole life. Did musical theater growing up in Florida. Even through Thundermans, I played my guitar and sang all the time, but I just didn't have anything to say, really. And I knew I wasn't really ready. And now that I'm starting to songwrite, I love it so much. It's just transformed my life completely, and I'm making these bad experiences in my life into something great, and that's just what I feel that art is all about now. And inspiring people that they can do the same, and hopefully putting out something that resonates, and that, you know, so it's a free gift. I'm tangenting now. I'm going off tangent, but I view it as this gift because it's so hard. You really have to dive deep when you're writing about something painful, and it's a gift because it's putting it out there and it's saying, hey, this is what I went through. And this is a work that I've done, and I could just keep it to myself because it helps me, and I listen to it myself. But I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna put it all out there, and I don't know you. I don't know if you're a good person, if you're a bad person. I don't know what you like to do in your free time. I don't know your sexual orientation. I don't know your religious beliefs. I don't know any of that. But here it is. It's for you. It's such a pure way of living life and expressing yourself and creation, you know, and making something that is for you and for other people. I had a really interesting point before I went on that tangent. I forget what it was. Anyway.
Yeah, it might pop back up. But on the point that you just said, I think that early on, whenever I started music, I really, really wanted to be an artist. And I learned producing, and I was producing my own stuff and whatnot. But I have to say that I thankfully lived a pretty privileged, childhood. My parents really took care of us. I didn't really have any hardships. I maybe went through some bullying here and there, but just like nominal things. And I didn't really have, I don't know, I didn't have experiences that I think really resonate with others. And so on my journey in music, I realized that I'm not meant to tell stories.
Mm.
I am very, very, very good at lifting other people up.
Mm.
And so mixing really became a thing for me where I took people's genius and their hardships and their messages, and I just made them sound as good as possible to help resonate with more people.
That's so
And
cool.
I found that out early. Like, I don't wish that I went through difficult things to tell messages.
Yeah.
I know how tough that is.
Yeah.
But I'm just thankful that other people trust me with their babies like that.
That's so cool. I can't wait to trust you with my baby, bro. We're about to work together.
I know we are.
And it's been a long time coming. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I didn't either, really. Like, I didn't go through any crazy shit as a kid at all. I had everything I needed. You know, my parents were pretty well off, and I got to move here with my mom when I was 13, and you know, we never struggled. And I thought that, like you said, I thought I didn't really have experiences that related to people with struggle. And it kind of was an insecurity almost. And it's like, well, why is that an insecurity? And it's basically that did happen. Like that, it all kind of happened like as it was meant to, obviously. But like I said, I never really had anything happen. But in 2019, my parents broke up. And that was like the thing. And sometimes it can sound like, I know it doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but it was. And it was very hard. And they were like my best friends. Never thought that I'd have to go through it. I was already 22. But I wasn't like a true 22. It's true what they say about people that get famous as a young person. It kind of like stunts your growth.
I've heard that.
You kind of, for a few years, you kind of stay that age that you were when you got known.
Is it because everything goes into autopilot?
Yeah, because you've like achieved this thing that's so taboo, and that nobody really understands unless you have it. And even if you have it, you don't really understand it. It's really weird. So 22, not really 22, more like 18. And all of a sudden, I had been writing for a couple years after the show ended in 2017 or 2018, after the Thundermans ended. I was just writing because I was beginning to feel like it's something that I wanted to do. I love music, and I was like, well, I should try to do this. But it was only me, like in my room, you know, and over 2 years, I probably wrote like 20 songs. Nothing that really like set my soul on fire, though, that I had to just share and I felt really passionate about. But they were just songs, you know?
Yeah.
Because I loved it. But now, when this shit was going down and everything was flipped on its head and my whole world of, like we were talking about, of easiness and not really struggling, all of a sudden, the person that I loved the most, my mother, was spiritually dying. And I had to carry that weight for a long time. And this hard thing, I feel like it's a big turning point in people's lives when they go through something that's unlike anything they've ever experienced. Whether they're going to let it consume them and let it dictate who they are, what happens in their life in a negative way, or they double down on what they believe, who they are, how they're going to make something good out of it, because everything happens for a reason. And you hear people say that, and sometimes it sounds like how, like why, like what reason could it be? You got to find the reason. You got to go deep, and you got to let it inspire you to be better, you know, whether it's in art or just who you are as a person or anything like that. But basically that happened, and Tristan, who you know, my bandmate, I had wanted to play music with him for a while, and this was in this, you know, 2018, 2019, 2020 even time. Happened with my family. I'm going through it, And I just called him up. I was like, I think I need to like write a song. And it was the first time that kind of feeling took over me. And now it's happened a lot. And maybe it hasn't happened to you. Maybe like we were saying, like you live a pretty easy life, nothing really bad. You haven't really experienced loss. Like, and maybe that is you, Austin. Maybe you haven't really in your life. Like I'm telling you, like it will.
Mm-hmm.
It will happen. And it will happen to you out there if it hasn't. And you have to like be ready and you have to be vigilant. You have to be prepared. If you're going through life and kind of saying yes to everything and kind of really don't have your shit together, it will turn for the worse when this thing happens. So it's all about kind of preparing, really, I feel like, in setting yourself up for success when the storms of life do happen. You want your house on the rock, not on the sand.
Love that. That's a great analogy. Yeah. Great way to wrap that up. I have dealt with some hardships, but they're later in life and also after I chose my path.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there will always be things that come, and it is how you weather that storm. I do want to take this back to the beginning of like childhood and stuff, but I do have one question because you were talking about social media. Help me understand. I do not like, because clearly I don't have the platform visually that you do. What the fuck happens whenever you guys post? And I mean you guys, like anybody like that has a big following, whenever you post, I just felt this for the first time with Kira Kosarin's post. We did a collab and there's literally like thousands of likes that come in like mere seconds. What is that? Are those bots?
It's the machine. I mean, I don't know. I've never paid for followers or streams or any of that. But I can't speak for other people, but it's the machine of Disney Nick. Like,
but I mean, you get a serious amount of likes on your post, so I'm guessing like
it's that, but it's Disney Nick. It's not really. I mean, it is us, but we were put on in 50 countries. You know what I mean? Like it's worldwide. And that's why I'm so grateful to the show, and I had the best experiences of my life on Nickelodeon, to be honest. Like, I still know a bunch of people that I met. And when you do 100 episodes of a television show, like, you meet so many people.
Yeah.
And they're all great people. But yes, this fandom online, it's from that. And I think Kira has definitely worked it more than I have and kind of built her audience even more because she's really good with it. She's
a social media whiz.
She's a guru, and I'm just not that way. And I knew that, like we were kind of just talking about a few minutes ago, from the beginning, that I kind of had a weird disconnect with it. And I felt like I couldn't really be myself. And maybe it's insecurity, maybe it's not wanting everyone to really know the real me. And that's, I feel like that's a normal kind of acceptable place to be, and I feel like as I'm getting older, even doing these podcasts, like I kind of resisted when podcasts first came because I think it's a big deal to talk as your true self, and how we were talking about how my growth, I feel, was kind of stunted being on television, being a known person as a youngster. I felt like I wanted to kind of to give myself a few years after the show to really know myself in a more fulfilling way and what I really thought about things. Because back to the growth thing and being on the show and being a known person, your age is kind of stunted, I feel, because you're so involved in this thing. Like for me, it was the show. For some kids, it's music. For some kids, it's whatever they're doing, whether it's sports or whatever. That the rest of the world becomes not real, and you don't pay attention to the news and you don't pay attention to what's happening. And you're so sucked into this thing. Like for me, it was just auditions, the show, table reads, run-throughs, little things here and there, little promos and stuff. And that is consuming for a child. And when it was over, when I was 20, I realized that I missed a lot of stuff. Like when I would have been in high school and I would have been in college meeting people, and I missed a lot of stuff while I gained a whole lot too, a whole lot of perspective that other kids my age didn't have. I kind of had to start from the ground up of like who I really was, you know? And I'm in this acting class right now at Anthony Mandela Studio. Shout out Tony. He's an amazing coach, amazing teacher. And I'm in this class, and I'm kind of realizing that I played this character for so long, and I'm this like kind of clean cut kid who doesn't swear, do drugs, sleep with girls, and that is on me too. That's not something that Nickelodeon like put on me. I just wanted to fit this mold, you know. I wanted I wanted kids to look up to me, and I wanted to inspire kids to be more than the average mundane kid and really go for their dreams, you know. Max was like this crazy smart scientist kid, and he created these gadgets, and he wanted to be evil, and then he turned good, and he had this whole arc, and it was really cool to play a character that really went somewhere, you know. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the roles that I was auditioning for at the time on Disney or Nick, really kind of all the characters kind of just did one thing.
So if we go all the way back to like your childhood, I would love to figure out, you know, what early life was like, what your parents were like together, what their relationship was like that broke you so hard whenever they separated. But what were like the founding things going on in your life that created young Jack?
It's a good question. I would say my family, like mainly my siblings. So it's kind of interesting. I'm like kind of an only child, but I have 4 half siblings, and they're all older. So if you know what I mean, like I was the only kid from my parents, but they both had kids before they met each other.
I see.
My parents met in Virginia Beach, and they moved down to Orlando, and that's where I was born. And Orlando is a great place to grow up, man. Like so much art, so much stuff to do as a kid. You know, we have new amusement parks going up every year. There's just these little things all the time, and things being renovated, and it's just a great place. And but basically, my brothers on my mom's side lived with us because they lived with their mom. But my brother and my sister on my dad's side stayed in Virginia with their mom. And so growing up, I was definitely a little closer to my mom's kids because they were in the house. And they were just like really fun, funny, charismatic, artistic kids. And I love them so much for it. They just inspired me to sort of not go with the status quo and think outside the box, and, you know, not really care what other people thought, and be goofy, and, with just accents. And, you know, they were theater kids, you know. So basically there still is this theater school. It's not a theater school. It's a regular high school called Dr. Phillips in Orlando, but there's a big theater magnet program. And I just have like these great memories of going and watching my older brothers perform, whether it was like Grease or Oklahoma or, you know, whatever.
How much older are they?
They're like 10 and like 13 years older than me.
Okay, cool.
So when they were in high school, I was like really, really little, like maybe like 6 or 7 or something like that.
So old enough to be role models for sure. Like,
oh yeah. And I was old enough to like remember, you know, some of my earliest memories for sure that really made an impact. And that's why I love it so much, because when you're that young, you're just downloading information.
Absolutely.
You know, and there's
not filtering it. It's just like all hitting you with, I love that.
Yeah. That's why it's so important, like we were talking about earlier, to kind of remain in your childlike state, you know, and you're not clouded by all this wisdom and knowledge and bullshit. Anyway, they ended up going to New York for college, and that was my plan, was to do what they did. All of a sudden I was doing, you know, I wanted to start really early, but my parents didn't let me. I did some like print and commercial work and stuff, but my parents wanted me to like be a normal kid and like go to school, and I'm really grateful for that. Because I feel like a lot of kids, this is a tangent, but I feel like a lot of kids will come here or like go to New York or even in their hometown and just be consumed with what we were talking about earlier, how it was like the show and auditions. And especially here in LA, I feel like kids come here and they really young, like 5, 6, 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just so bad. To be honest, like I think being on set and being even a known person at that young and impressionable of a time in your life is just damaging. I just do. So to go back, like I was going to regular school, but then at age like 10, 11, I was really wanting to do it, to go in community theater and to perform. And so I'm like asking my parents and they're letting me, and I'm doing like classes, acting classes, like film and TV classes downtown Orlando, doing a couple productions here and there. I took some time out of school to do a production of A Christmas Story at our like professional repertory theater. And that was like my first time I like got paid to like do anything.
Wow, at 10?
12?
Okay, wow.
11, 12. And I wasn't even the lead. I wasn't Ralphie. I was Schwartz, who like, triple dog dared the kid to put his tongue on the pole. And that
totally fits you.
I know, right? I know. It's funny. I wanted to be Ralphie so bad. And it was a great production. I still can remember the lights and the actors and just fond memories, And like I was saying, I was doing classes downtown. And that was where my whole plan changed from going to New York and being, a theater person to, like maybe I'll go to LA. Basically, I was 12, 13. And my teacher there at the school, told my mom that I had some talent and, potential. And there's just really more happening in LA than anywhere else. Especially for this age, New York is very competitive at that age. There's it's just less going on. So basically, she suggested that I come to LA, and I kind of asked my parents. I was still in 7th grade, so my grades really didn't count yet. And I just sat them down, and basically my outlook was this: like my older brothers were in college in New York, and to be honest, like they just weren't doing it like big, they were, not struggling, but it was just hard for them,
Yeah.
And I saw the opportunity to go to LA, and I was like, I just told my parents, like, I don't want to wait till I'm out of high school going to college. Like, I think I want it now. Like, I want to go now and see if I have what it takes.
What a conscious thought.
And they were they were like, well, like, what can we say to this kid? Like he's right. We had the means, and my dad stayed, and he would come visit, but me and my mom went out, and I'm just so, so grateful. Like I know for facts, like I wouldn't be where I am today without them,
Wait, I want to pause this story real quick. All this has been like super fascinating, and I want to figure out a little bit more about the beginning. Like, tell me a little bit about your mom and dad.
Sure. My mom is a super creative person, and she's super caring and very selfless. Super faithful Christian woman. She's like a prayer warrior, man. Like she's so fierce. And I just admire her so much. My dad, very business savvy, very much a numbers guy. But he liked sports. He loves golf. That's kind of what I spent my time with him doing when we would spend time together. Won a bunch of amateur tournaments. Like he's really good. And so that was kind of the dynamic. But as far as their relationship, it wasn't super thick. Like, you know what I mean? Like my dad just wasn't a super emotional, feely, touchy guy. Like I can't even really remember them holding hands or kissing, like it was very much like I knew, the love is there. And I feel like that's a lot of boomers. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that generation was very much, we're going to work, we're going to provide, and that's what it is. And we're not going to cry. We're not going to get emotional. I got work in the morning, you know? And I feel like that's pretty normal. And so growing up, I didn't really have a male in my life that that showed emotion. You know, I think I saw my dad cry like one time, like at his mom's funeral. Like that was it. But how touching, you know, like when you see your dad cry. I remember seeing your dad cry and you're like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, your story is actually so parallel to mine,
Really?
actually, that I'm resonating with what you're saying. My dad, and maybe my mom cried a little bit, but not touchy-feely, not overly lovey.
Yeah.
But I knew that they loved the shit out of us.
Yeah.
And they were great parents, but
it's more like a partnership with that kind of marriage.
That's actually a perfect word.
And I'm sure I don't know about your situation, but for me, I knew they loved each other, but it was more like a partnership. And it kind of, now looking back at it, it definitely, like we were talking about earlier, everything's downloading information at that age. And it definitely, not seeing a super lovey-dovey relationship in your parents creates, I wouldn't say problems, but it creates dynamics in your love life. You know, I'm not a super romantic person. I have to kind of put it on a little bit. You know, a lot of girlfriends that I had when I was a teenager, they were like, why are you doing things for me? You know what I mean? And, you know, not that I should have been, but girls and guys are so different, you know? And I didn't really see growing up. My dad never got my mom flowers. You know what I mean? My dad never said stuff like that. And he's a great guy. You know, it's not saying that he should have. It's just that's what he learned, you know? And it reminds me now of like breaking the cycle of generations. You know what I mean? Like I feel like systems of dysfunction, systems of poverty, systems of laziness, you know, like they get passed down because we're so impressionable as young kids. And so
Absolutely.
I feel like a big part of life is, you know, taking the good things from the parents and breaking the cycle of the bad things. I
very much think that that's our generation. Like that's kind of our mandate.
Yeah.
Is that let's figure out the things that have been passed down to us and actually figure them out so that we don't pass them on. But
yeah,
dude, literally everything you're saying is dangerously close to
that's crazy.
To me. I'm sure that means that there are a lot of people watching and listening who are going to resonate with that as well. But I see the things that I want to do. I can imagine them, but they don't come out of me. I have to really, really work to make them happen. But it's really sad because I want them to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm just like programmed to not show that. I do love holding hands and I do like cuddling, but there's a point where it's just like too much. And I wish that weren't the case, but I know that that's because I did not receive that. So it feels unnatural.
Yeah. And it also has to do with like your relationship history too, like how much you've been in relationships, what kind of relationships you've had. And like, for me, I had a lot of girlfriends from 16 to maybe like 23. And just these past couple years of like taking a step back and I'm not so girl crazy anymore. And that's when you like really can think about what you want and think about who you want to be as a partner. I feel like I'm ready to like find my person.
Yeah. And back to parents. So in our timeline of your life, we're 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And you were having a conversation about moving to LA.
Yeah.
So what happened whenever they said, we can't turn this kid down?
Well, my mom and I drove out.
That's a long-ass drive.
Yeah, from Orlando.
I don't think it could get any further.
It was like 5 or 6 days. Yeah, it really can't. And it was great, you know, like it was 2010, simpler times, you know, and we got a place in Toluca Lake, this little apartment, just me and my mom, and it was some of the best times of my life. You know, I started going to acting class at John D. Aquino School. Shout out John D. Aquino if anyone wants to come to LA and be an actor. He's a great coach for kids. And yeah, like I just started thriving. This was my place. I got made fun of in school for sure for being an actor. Like I told you, like I was doing some little like productions here and there in school and out of school. People call me a homo and and it's not even saying anything's wrong with being gay, but at that age, that means that you're like an outsider. That means you're looked down upon.
Yeah. Also, somebody's using that derogatory.
Derogatory, yeah, and
that's gay.
yeah, and
like that.
nowadays, I'm so secure with my sexuality, whatever. But as a kid, I definitely got made fun of for sure for being artistic, and I think that's so important for kids to know. That's why I'm involved with this this thing Buddha Bullying. We've done some events. Me and my band have played for their cause, and it's so important for kids to know that whenever someone makes fun of you, whenever someone makes you feel stupid or bad or like you don't matter or your opinion doesn't matter, it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. We live in such a broken world, and kids are hurting. Kids are killing themselves. Kids are killing other people. Like, kids will do anything to feel good. Like we were talking about earlier, we gravitate towards the light. And even if the light is at expense of other people, at kids, at a childhood, you don't understand that. So whenever someone's making fun of you, calling you names, it's because that kid's hurting. And what they say, hurt people is 100% true.
I mean, and I'd love to extend that to literally any time that somebody does that.
Yeah.
I mean, kids, especially because they're very vulnerable to that,
Right.
but adults, like anybody who's spewing shit online, saying some negative things to somebody else to your face or behind your back, it's always about them.
Yeah.
And not about you.
It always is. And
it's very tough to not let it affect you.
Yeah.
But if you can stop and just think for a moment, this isn't about me, this is about them.
Yeah.
I think that will help a little bit. But yeah, it's tough. It's just something you have to get used to.
Yeah.
This world is rough.
Yes.
So you and your mom move out here.
Yeah.
And do you go into a normal school, or do you go into one of the schools that allow you to also be on set?
Yeah. So right away I did Florida virtual school. I did online school. And I was never a good student, to be honest. Even in Orlando, like I would mess up my homework. I wouldn't get the information. I would need to call my friends. And like I had this thing called auditory processing syndrome, which I don't know if I still have. Some people tell me that it's not real, but I think it very much is real. It's just a matter of whether your brain moves slow or fast. And for me, my brain moved really fast. So when information would be told to me, I'd already be thinking like 4 steps ahead and not receiving the information. Mm-hmm. And that has now bled into being on set and directing. And when I get notes and when I get rewrites or whatever, I really have to clarify and make sure that I'm getting the full information. Mm-hmm. But anyway, going back to being out here, no, I didn't go to a regular school for a while. 7th, 8th, 9th grade, I did online. And those years were all spent really getting to know kids and going to acting class, kids that I still know today. I have great friends out here. And it was 10th grade, my sophomore year, that I went to Brighton Hall, which used to be called San Fernando Valley Professional School. And it was kind of like an actor school, like very small class. And I did a year of that school, and that was the year I booked the Thundermans. So that only lasted for about a year, and then I left to do set school, and set school lasted until I graduated.
So I want to figure out how long the period was from like you moving to LA and doing acting till booking the Thundermans, mm-hmm. and then I want to dive in a little bit on how you got that gig, because obviously that's how most people know you.
Yes.
But I think that there's a lot to learn from it.
Sure.
And yeah, so how long was the gap?
So 3 years. And I will say it doesn't sound like a long time now, but when you're that age, it is a long time when you've only lived 13 years.
So true, actually.
So and the thing to learn there, I would say, is that things take time. I saw a lot of kids come and go as a teenager here in LA. I got friends that would, we'd get close and they would see how hard it is, and that it doesn't just happen overnight, and they would go back home because it's hard. It's expensive to be out here too. And I think a lot of people don't see the work it takes to get to where people are,
That's actually what this podcast, I hope, highlights with my guests. Is it's fucking hard.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not so much about the talent, it is the hard work. And talent is
because a lot of times in the rest of the world, you only see the finished product, and it can seem like it did happen quickly. And like, I will say, like, there are some cases that it does happen quickly. Those people are very rare, and those people are very, I'd say, gifted at being natural, because that's really what we want in entertainment. Is we just want realness. We just want art imitating life, But it's so interesting, like when you press record on anything, whether it's a camera or a microphone, psychologically and subconsciously, it changes things for the performer. And like we were talking about being in that space of being inspired, like for me recently with recording, I haven't done much recording in my music, Like for a whole year when I did the band, when it was like a different band, we didn't even hit a recording studio that whole year. Like we were just playing, getting a live sort of feel, getting a sound, And now that I've been recording for the past couple of years, I'm like, how do I make myself believe that I'm alone right now? Because you sing so much differently alone, or just for someone. I can remember being on like a boat, and like these group of people I didn't even know were like, "Oh, you're in a band, like sing us a song." We had a guitar, and I just felt like I just sang like the best ever. Like when you're meeting new people, when you're really performing for an audience, and there's no cameras rolling, and it's a special thing that you're sharing with only those people.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were talking about other shit.
Yeah. But hilarious, a little tidbit there.
Yes.
Well, if you want to dive back in.
Moving here.
Yes.
It took 3 years, and it takes a long time. So yeah, anyway, it took 3 years, and exactly what my agent at the time said happened. Basically, she said, like nobody knows you yet this year. It's going to take a couple of years. It's kind of like being in high school. Like you're a freshman, you're a sophomore, you're a junior, and you're a senior. And it happened like that. Like it happened like the first year I'd get auditions, but no one really knew me. And then in the second year, I was starting to get callbacks and stuff, and getting better the whole time, going to class. That's another thing too. You can't just start going for this thing and not training. Like I'm saying, it's very rare for those people to move here and get famous overnight and get a big job. It's like those people are rarities, and it's like anything. You need to be in a structured training course, whether it's school or doing your own at home. Like I would suggest against doing your own at home, because it's really hard to create your own curriculum. I mean, there's, YouTube University and all that kind of stuff. But with something like art, it's so nuanced and hard that you need people who have done it and know it and are not even necessarily great themselves. Like they say, a lot of people who can't do teach, and it's true. Like it's easy, even for me, when I'm like, helping a friend with a scene. Like when you're not in it, you can view it differently and really assess it. Just like a same life situation when you're giving your friend advice. It's like, from being a fly on the wall, outside perspective, like you should listen to your friend because they're not biased. They're not in the situation, Like when you're in something with a relationship, and, you feel like you can't leave. You feel like, like when you're in it, like it's hard to have the perspective of how to be out of it.
For sure. But also with that, to go along with your point, still the perspective is necessary, but you're only going to listen to them if you know that they are going to have solid advice on that topic.
Yeah.
So choosing a class to learn in, you need somebody who's done the thing and has a perspective. So,
Yeah.
but one question on that, because I'm sure people want to know who are watching and listening. How often should you go to acting class?
At least once a week.
Okay, but what's the optimal?
Right now I'm in class once a week. I've done two a week. It just depends on how much you want, how much you can afford and how much you want it. Like it really comes down to, if you're trying to at least be in this world, there are so many people here that want it so fucking bad, and will do anything. And one of my teachers told me at a really young age, they might out-talent you, Jack. They might be better, but don't let them outwork you. And it just stuck with me that when I have an audition and I have an opportunity, I got to think about all the other boys that are having that opportunity and what they're doing, And if there's even a question of whether they're doing more, you're probably not going to get that part. Like you're probably not. Because some people say that, oh, if you're the guy, it doesn't really matter. I disagree. I disagree. I think there's a lot of work that comes into it. I think you got to look the part for sure. But most of the time, they're going to go with someone who is skilled, obviously.
So skilled, and then I'm guessing put in time to either read the full script,
Mm-hmm.
understand really deeply who that character is,
Mm-hmm.
and not just give a performance, but really encapsulate the character that you're auditioning for. I'm
The
guessing
world. It's more than the character. It's really the world. Like some of my friends who are actors will not read the script. And I'm not saying I read the script every time. I'm not the perfect, student actor. But if I really want the role and it's obviously really deep, I will. And most of the time I do. But some people don't see the this is a good point. That's conjuring. Some people don't see the value in world building. Like literally right now, real time example. I'm in a scene right now in class where I have to cry. And it's always hard for me. It's always hard for me, even going back to like my dad, not having someone who is emotional, and not seeing that it's a really superpower as a man to be able to be that in touch with your emotions and control it. And it's something that I'm working on, especially being in the whole Nickelodeon space for so long. Like I didn't have to ever do that. Didn't have to ever cry on the sitcom, obviously.
Yeah.
And world building. So basically, the first week, there was a lot there for me. Basically, with our class, we get a new scene every week. We get assigned a scene partner, and we, with our scene partner, get to pick a scene. And tonight is going to be week 4 on this scene. Week 1, I was actually out. Week 2, my first time on the scene was really good. I kind of went in it with no expectations, and there was a lot there for me. I wouldn't say I pushed the weeping a little bit, but I got kind of glossy eyed and I felt it, and I looked at that as a victory. You gotta give yourself pats on the back. You gotta look at things at victory. It's not vain. Like you gotta give yourself credit where it's due. And then last week it was the opposite. I kind of had expectations. I wasn't really feeling very open, and nothing was there for me when it came to that point. And my teacher told me, this is back to the world building thing. In the talk back, which is after we do the scene, I was really focused on the fact that I couldn't get there, that I couldn't cry. And I love this school so much because it's kind of a different technique than anything that I've worked on before. It's like the opposite of the method acting, like being so consumed with the character, knowing that person's life and knowing what that person's going through, and it's not really you. And this technique is very much like you, and finding the substitution, finding what makes you tick, knowing yourself the best so you can share yourself the best. And basically all this to say that I was so focused on what I had to do in the scene, the place that I had to get, that if you think about that at all leading up to that point in the scene, it's not going to be there. And if it's there, it's probably pushed and not real. So what my teacher told me was that, you gotta focus on the world building. You gotta focus on the context. and this is what we were talking about with, reading the script to know the character. And it's even more, you got to read the script to know the world. A lot of people think that, for example, a lot of the scripts that they'll give you for like an episodic, for a TV show, are a couple episodes before your episode. And a lot of people are like, oh, like, it's not my episode. Sometimes your character isn't even in it. And some people will be like, well, I'm not in it, so I don't need to read it. And it's like, there's going to be guys that are getting that perspective, that worldview, and that know more about the world. And there's just so much that goes into it. Like, I love acting because it's something that you can learn for life, and this school that I'm in, I learned very quickly that you have to have a mindset of, I know nothing. That's the beginning of wisdom, really, I think, is when you can truly be at a place of, I'm a student. I'm here to learn. I'm here to get better. I'm here to fail. Like, there's so much value in the fail. People, when they cap themselves and think, well, I'm good at these things, so I'm just going to keep doing these things. If you're not failing consistently, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
And I think when people are afraid of that is when they've plateaued, they've peaked. And
failing is definitely a key to success.
Yes.
No doubt. If you're not failing, you are not trying hard enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And having people that disagree with you too, not to cut you off, but having people that just tell you yes. And if you're working a part of a team that everyone agrees, Rick Rubin said, if you have people that are just constantly agreeing with each other, you got something wrong. You don't have enough differentiating opinions to get a full spectrum on things. You know what I mean? You can't have a bunch of people thinking the same way.
Right. Yeah. And then the thing that I also love about him is he also says that you should just listen to yourself. It's great to have input.
Yes. That's exactly, yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're the one wearing whatever the choice is. So
yes, and I will touch on that because earlier I was saying take advice from people, and I think it's a yin and yang. I do, and what you just said, I think is something that I've been kind of articulating too in my life. It's very important to have support and take advice from people and listen to people's perspective. But you're the one driving the car. No one knows what to do, what the best thing to do is other than you, because no one has your experiences. No one's lived your life. No one knows the relationship you have with that person other than you. Everyone has their own experience in this life. It's the Rex put out that song Sonder, and that's what it is. Everyone's unique experience. We're not kind of in you're not the only one here. You're not living in a simulation. Other people are real, living the exact same thing that you are.
Yeah.
And if you believe that, it'll change the way you treat people. That you sitting here across from me are having the same experience. That it's not all about me.
Yep.
Kind of goes into like that whole theory of like, which I never really understood. Maybe we can figure this out. Of like, okay, like this book right here. Like I see that book is red, but who says that you see that book as red?
Mm-hmm.
Someone has told me that before, and I'm like, well, it's red to both of us, so it's red. But there is something there of like, I mean, you see red.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying. I see reddish, orangish. Like I could go into like it's almost a burnt orange, but it's like a little bit more red than burnt orange.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but yeah, we all see things in a different perspective.
A lot of certain things there's certain things in life that, depending on what kind of person you are, you can't just take someone's word for it. You got to find out for yourself. I've been there so many times.
Yeah, it's a part of growing for sure. Okay, so 3 years of acting after you come here, you land the Thundermans. So I want to know, tell us all, I guess it's public knowledge, but since I think the people at this point watching and listening, I think many episodes will be out, I'm not a deep researcher. I want to have an organic conversation where these topics organically come up and I can poke at the ones I want to poke at. So tell us the story of the pilot of the Thundermans and how
Sure.
you got the opportunity to audition for it.
Sure. So I was 16. I was in 10th grade at that kind of actor school we were talking about, Brighton Hall. And Kira went there too. Kira plays Phoebe on the show. And we had a relationship before the show. We were friends. And we were both in that school together. And she took time off to go shoot the Thundermans pilot. So that is to say, I was not a part of it. The first Thundermans pilot, which is it's common knowledge. I mean, but not a lot of people know. And it's funny when I think back. I remember hearing the word Thundermans, and it's kind of funny because I thought that it was Thunder Mints, as in like mints. I don't know why. Like the first time I heard it, that's where my mind went.
What would those be?
Those would kill. Honestly,
brand it.
We should patent that.
Let's do it.
And then obviously I knew that it wasn't that. And Kira took time out of school, and I remember getting the audition in my email, which is so cool that is kind of, it's not cool. It's just like that some things are just the way they are. And that's the first time you see projects. They're just in your email, and like, it's like audition, project name, like whatever.
So it went to you and not your agent?
Well, my agent sent this to me.
Okay.
Yeah, my agent sent it to me.
I just figured out the tagline for the mints. It'd be shockingly good.
Let's go. Oh, we're gonna
shockingly fresh.
Yeah, let's go. And so yeah, I was already on a Nickelodeon pilot at that point. It was supposed to be like the new All That. It was supposed to be like a SNL for kids. It was sketch comedy. I played like Zac Efron. I played like Justin Bieber, and I like sang and did all this stuff. And it didn't go. And that was hard as a 15-year-old, for sure. That was one of the hardest things at that point. But, it was fine. And I got the audition for the Thundermans, came in my email, and the first thing I thought, I was like, that's Kira's show. And why is it in my email? And it turns out they were doing a new pilot. And they were adding this character of Max. Max was not in the original pilot with Phoebe. It was pretty much all about Phoebe. And I remember texting Kira immediately because we were friends. And of course, in my little, teenager mind, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll have a leg up since I know her, And it's funny because I had been in situations before, like, for example, on Dog with a Blog, I was testing for that with G. Hernelius and Blake Michael. And Blake had a relationship with G, and I didn't. And I just remember being on the opposite side of that end, of being like, they were literally in the Disney casting room, like kind of running it together because they know each other. And I was like, kind of, with my dick in my hands, like, oh, well, okay.
That makes sense.
And now I'm on the opposite end where I have the relationship with Kira, and it just ebbs and flows that way. So,
well, I'd like to highlight something real quick for everybody watching and listening. This is one thing that kind of threads all these episodes together, is finding what makes somebody successful, but what are the things that they did. And so many things, like, already, and then we'll get back to that. You did all of these years of class.
Yes.
Right? You did all these things to get ready for this moment, but also just by coming to LA and enrolling in that school, you met Kira. And I'm sure that you met so many other people.
Yeah.
But
it was actually not even in the school. It was in acting class I met Kira.
Oh.
We go even farther back.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you didn't go to that school, you wouldn't have that relationship.
Yeah.
With Kira going into this. So, I mean, just like, it's the work that you do before the opportunity that counts.
It's the work, and it's the relationships with people. It's really a people business.
Absolutely.
And it's really important to have good relationships with others. So long story longer, I got the audition. I'm texting Kira about it. And I think I went right to producers because I had the relationship with Nickelodeon. So I did that pilot like the year before. And I think at that point I had like guest starred on a few things. That's kind of how it happens. Like the first year you don't really get many, callbacks. Then you start getting callbacks, and then you start, getting little bookings, maybe a guest star, and then you start testing for series regulars, and that's kind of how the process went. And by the time I was testing for Thundermans, I had done a Nickelodeon pilot. I had guest starred on a couple Nickelodeon shows. And that's kind of how they kind of like test you out, kind of see how you'll do, how with the pressure. And at that point, there was a lot of live audiences, and I had my kind of background in theater, so I was very used to that, and I thrived off of that. Live audiences are kind of going away these days. It's kind of sad. It's a dying art form, the whole multicam sitcom for a live audience. But anyway, I was really prepared. I was ready, and I'm a big believer in like, you get what you're ready for, and you don't get what you're not ready for. Like there was a lot of roles, let's say Spider-Man. I auditioned for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and I wanted it so bad, and I did everything I could, and I really prepared. But if I had gotten that role, I really don't believe I would have been ready. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't have wanted that. I don't want to get something and fall flat. Tom Holland's amazing. He's a better actor than me. Just like put it there. And it's just important to kind of know, it's important to not want to get too ahead of yourself. Like in music, for example, like someone would be like, why aren't you playing bigger rooms? Why aren't you playing like 800, like 1200? And I'm like, well, like I can't sell that many tickets. And even if I could, like I'm in the like 200 to 500 range right now. It'd be really intimidating for me to be commanding that big of a room, and I'm really not ready. I want to work myself up to that so I can really kill it.
Yeah, it's hard for probably listeners to understand if they're not deep in the music space, which I'm not a performer, but I do understand how you really have to grow up into how big the stage and the room is. Like you have to be able to command a larger room. It has so much to do with your stage movement and just like the overall sound of the tracks that you're playing. I don't know, the lead's ability to resonate with everybody in the crowd and make them feel special. Like you have to grow up into that. So
absolutely. We're about to play the Troubadour in 11 days, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be in that space. I've seen a lot of life-changing shows there.
Absolutely, same.
Yeah.
And that will be a step up for you.
Exactly. We did the Viper Room last summer, and it's definitely a step in the right direction. So anyway, back to Thundermans. Like I said, I had worked a little bit on these shows, like guest stars and stuff, before I got the test. And at the time, I was testing for a couple Disney shows, that Dog with the Blog one that I mentioned. There's one called I Didn't Do It that my friend Austin North and Olivia Holt ended up doing. And at the time, I wanted those. I really wanted the Disney shows. Like, and I've said it before, like you just kind of have an idea coming out here. I wanted to do the wand, the ears, the mouse ears. And I wanted those. And kind of in retrospect now, I'm like, gosh, like I'm so glad I got the Thundermans. Like it was just the best show. But anyway, back to the audition process and booking it. I got right to the producer session, and then they called me back for the test, the chemistry read with Kira and with Chris, who plays Hank, my dad, on the show. And I guess I'll tell this story. Like, why not?
Let's hear it.
Oh, dude, no. I have to now. I'll make it short. I basically, like, before the chemistry read, I get there and there's like a ton of boys. There's like 15, and usually it's like you're down to like the final 5 or whatever. And I was like, oh damn, like there's a lot of me's around here. Some friends that I still know today, people that are kind of in my age range. And this is just a little part of the story. Basically, I go to the bathroom before my read, and I walked in on the casting director going to the bathroom. This chick, dude, she was going to the bathroom, and it was not locked. And I walked in, and it was like, it was so
oh my
bad,
gosh,
it was so bad, bro. I'm like 16, and I see too much. I saw too much, and I don't know if it was the casting director. It could have been the assistant or someone that worked for them. But anyway,
Oh my God.
I go in and, they're in the room and I'm just trying to like do my read,
Yeah, how do you shake off that?
Yeah, I had to really shake it off, man. And it's just funny that that's what I ended up booking because it really threw me for a curveball before the audition.
Yeah, I could feel like, was it just like a wave? It probably wasn't, was it anxiety feeling or was like just adrenaline, like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit?
Definitely. And you're so young at that, like, I hadn't had experiences with girls at that point. You know what I mean? Like it's just I was so innocent. Anyway, that threw me for a curveball. But the chemistry was just there with me and Kira in the read. It was just very palpable. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Palpable.
Also hilarious that I hear that most often about chemistry reads.
Yeah.
Like that word.
Yeah.
I think it's like that's the thing
it's there. It's tangible. It's like you can feel the relationship. And that's because of me and Kira's work in acting class, but also just because we knew each other. Like there was really nothing that those other guys could do to have the same relationship that I had with her.
Yeah.
And our relationship was very much Max and Phoebe. Like we were in acting class together from 2010. Like she was 12 or like 11 and I was like 13.
Yeah.
And it was never more than friends, which worked in our favor. It was always platonic. Like some people don't believe me. Like even the Nickelodeon execs thought we hooked up.
Really?
Like literally, they like wouldn't believe it. They'd be like, "Yeah, right." And I don't even know why, because we didn't flirt. I think they just figured because we were both young and good looking that we would have done that. Like I don't know what that says about them, but
yeah.
We would swear, we'd be like, no, like we never have. And a lot of even fans are like, this is ridiculous. You guys have hooked up. Like,
fans have fan fictions and all that.
Yeah.
I know that could be a whole tangent.
Kira has showed me. It's disturbing. They'll make these whole like sex stories with us. Yeah, it's not cool.
Yeah, I know fan fictions that go deep.
Yeah, they go deep. And we're like this little Nickelodeon show. It just shocked me. I was like, wow. But anyway, I remember leaving and thinking that it went really, really well. And that same sentiment of like, even when I was young, I knew that I had like a really thick relationship with Kira, and I knew that it showed. And whenever you get a role, your agent calls you, and usually it's everyone on the team, like whether it's their other agents or their assistants or your manager, and it's either really good or really bad when they call, like even when they call today, I'm like, am I crying or am I celebrating? Like just tell me now.
Your heart's just like thumping.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a good thing, but it's not as good as you hoped. Like sometimes you'll be up for a few things and they'll call you and you'll think it's the one thing, but it's actually the thing that it's good, but it's not as good.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, cool. But yeah, I remember getting the call and just not being able to believe it at first, like it feeling like a shock and trying to process it. I was wearing a blue shirt, and I'm walking around the room and I'm listening to them tell me the deal and stuff, and yeah, it just felt like it was all worth it. Even at that young age, like there are things that I didn't want to have to do, like, get up early and work and, not and sacrifice time with friends and sacrifice time in Orlando with my friends back there. I gave all of it up, and it was more than just me. It's my parents too, and my mom was there with me. And we're, crying and at that point, I'm pretty sure we knew it was going to go to series, because if I really thought about it, I'd be able to tell you for sure, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't just a pilot at that point. When they decided to do the second pilot, I think that they knew that it was going to go to series and do a season.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
They were just trying to test if having Max was going to do better than...
Right. And well, when we did the... I'm trying to remember whether it was a straight to series or not. No, it was, because I'll tell you that I did the pilot and they put me on a movie immediately. And when I got back from the movie, we started the series only like 7 weeks later. I will say, I'll get into this a little bit. Me and Kira recorded the theme song for the Thundermans. That didn't end up being the theme song. So I won't get into what all this means, probably, I suspect, but I will say my experience and what happened. We recorded the theme song. We had shot the first season, and now this is fast forwarding, and we're in Kira's house with all of us from the show and ready for the premiere. And we didn't know anything. And we're getting ready, and the first scene comes on, and it's crazy, you know, like we're all watching our show for the first time in real time, just like everybody else. And the first scene ends, and the theme song comes up with the opening slideshow credits, not slideshow, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And like immediately we start like looking around as the song starts, and we're like, this is not us. This is not our song. Like, it's 2 other people singing it, not us. And we didn't get told that at all. Like, they didn't tell us, and we were just like, okay.
Wow, what a weird feeling.
No, you'd think they would have told us.
Yeah, you guys didn't see Final Cut?
No, we didn't see any of it before. At least I didn't. And it was a shock. Like, we were expecting to be having sung the song and possibly, you know, maybe do a little more music even. And I'll leave it there.
Wow. Yeah, that would be shocking.
Yeah, it was shocking. But I think that was maybe, I don't think I've realized this, but that was kind of an antithesis of me really putting music on the side, because I had done like YouTube and stuff like before it was even a thing to be a YouTuber, and I got like millions of hits. Like I did like these covers and stuff before Thundermans, and when Thundermans started, I kind of just like put it to the side. Like I really was doing what I really wanted. And in retrospect, I probably wish I would have done both, but I really wanted to focus on the show, because that's what I was having fun doing, and I can't really judge myself for that. And we did 103 episodes of the show, and yeah, like got to travel the world, and I'm so grateful. Even with mentioning the song thing, like there were things that happened that, you know, it wasn't perfect, and how could it be? You know, I can't expect that of a huge company like that. And but they did so much for me that I'm humbled and so grateful for the opportunity. And that's why when they asked me to come back, it was yes from the start. You know, it was 6 years later. We just shot it in April.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we'll definitely get to the movie. Wow, what an interesting thing though, for 2 people who are vocalists. I mean, you both can sing.
We both could sing, yeah. Yeah.
That's
well,
really
I will
interesting.
say that like it was around the time that Ariana was getting really, really big. And that caused problems for Nick. So I don't think they wanted to repeat history, and it makes sense, you know? Yeah. I have a friend who's kind of newer in the scene, you'll say, you know, and not really used to seeing like famous people or whatever. And we were at this place in Malibu, and there's this show happening. And I was actually hoping I'd be able to tell this story on the way here. I was like, I hope we get to this, because it's kind of a funny story. We see this guy. We're at the bar. We see this guy. And he looks dope. Like, he looks cool. You know, he's got like the black, he's got the trucker hat. He's a little bit of an older guy. He's seasoned. We're like, this guy's an artist. Like, we could just tell, you know, this guy does music for sure, in like a big way.
Yeah.
You could just feel it off some people.
Yeah, you totally can.
And it's not like they're putting it out there. It's just who they are. And I knew it. He knew it. And I was talking to some other people, because I still have a thing of like, when I know someone's like I don't want to come off like I'm trying to get anything from them. I hope that maybe we'll connect in a more organic way, and it didn't seem right at the time for me to go up to him. Anyway, my friend doesn't have the same idea.
Not the same social IQ.
So he goes up to him, and this is all what I found out afterwards, because I was doing my own thing, and then I basically come back to my friend, and I'm like, "Who was it?" And he was like, "Oh, bro, he's like a big artist. He's from the Bravery." And I was like, "What's that?" And he plays me the song. It's "So give me something to believe, everything." And I was like, "No way! Like, it's such a big song, you know." And he was like, "Oh, bro, like I think I was like too much, I think I was too much, And I was like, "Yeah, dude, you gotta be chill. You gotta like not give them the impression that you want anything from them. You just gotta play it like you just want to be a friend, which is genuine. Just be their friend. Just connect with people. And once you get to know them and get their information, eventually, then you can start to talk about, oh, like we should collaborate or produce or write together. It just can't really be." Like that's kind of my rule of thumb. Like I don't really go there for a while. Like I just try to like meet people and be their friend, and because having friends is awesome. I think community and friendship is so important, and it can't really be about an exchange. Even though that's what ends up happening, and maybe what you ideally would like, you just can't make it about that, because then it kind of repulses people,
No, that you're perfectly right. I think exactly what it is if you could flip off the switch in your head, that's like, oh shit, that's somebody big.
Yeah.
I need to go talk to them.
Yeah.
And you just flip that off and like say, yeah, I'd love to just conversate with them. I just want to talk.
Yeah, and throw them curveballs, because famous people don't want to be ass kissed. It'd be like, I don't know, just something that they don't hear often. Like that's the thing about like being famous or a celebrity or a known person. It's like you get a lot of opportunities, you get your foot in the door in a lot of places that you wouldn't have otherwise, but also it creates this thing of like people. You never really know if people are treating you genuinely, because anyone could know who you are, and anyone could have an idea of you, and it creates right off the bat a level of uncertainty in relationships. And so I feel like a very keen radar of people who are trying to act like they're just meeting me, but I know that they know who I am. And it's fine, but people will just be rude sometimes. Like someone once told me that they thought I'd be bigger in person. They thought I'd be taller.
What the fuck?
It's so messed up. But yeah, it kind of takes away a level of like just person to person meeting people if you are like a semi-known person. So it's like give and take. Like there's good things about it, but there's also harder things about it that you kind of have to navigate.
Interesting. Yeah, hopefully people watching and listening now understand a little bit more, coming from somebody who probably gets approached pretty often. It's just like, dude, play it cool.
Yeah.
Just treat somebody like a human and not like a spectacle.
Don't be so impressed. People don't want people don't want your praise. They don't. They just want to be treated like normal. Yeah. And also give people respect. Like, like when people come up to me and I'm in a conversation or an intense conversation, or I'm eating with someone, like I very respectfully, nicely like tell them I'll be happy to take a picture and talk to you when I'm done. And a lot of people will think that I'm a dick for that, but it's really asserting a level of humanity.
Yeah.
That
nobody would want to be interrupted.
I don't know you. I know you know me, but I don't know you. I'm happy to know you, just not at this second when you need.
Mm-hmm. That's totally fair. I don't think anybody eating dinner wants to be approached and pulled away from whoever else they're talking to to have another conversation mid-conversation.
Yeah. But it's also really sweet when people wait, you know, like I'll be at a restaurant and I'll be leaving and like people will be like waiting outside. Like, oh, wanted to wait till you were done. And that creates like, oh, like, thank you so much. That's so respectful, you know, and that creates a trust, you know, with people that you don't know like that. And it makes me like kind of the position that I'm in. Like, usually I do like it. Usually it's great, but sometimes people will take advantage and kind of treat you unfairly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that we captured that. That's gold. Okay, so I want to fast forward a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell people whenever we met. Interesting how this all came about, but. So we were filming a movie.
Yes.
I think it was 2020.
Yes, it was. It was right at the height of COVID.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, we had to get tested, and it was like very.
I caused major problems with that. Well, you know who caused? It wasn't me. It was my girlfriend at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like.
She was just going out all the time, and she knew I was shooting a movie, and I asked her politely, and like she just wouldn't listen, and she got COVID, and I had to tell production, and almost shut us down.
Yeah, I remember. So the movies don't log off.
Yes.
And still in post, but it'll be out one day. But we Bear Brothers, and
shout
I know
out Bear Brothers.
Yeah, I know you guys are killing it. So yeah, I met so many different people on this film, but one of them happened to be you. So I got invited onto this film because of Sterling Bowman. And my best buddy, Sai, was doing a short. I don't know if it was like several years before. But anyways, I met Sterling on this film. He was the lead. And he knew that I did sound stuff because I did it on this short. And he invited me onto this project. And then I met you. I met Ariel Winter.
Mm-hmm.
I met
Luke.
Let's see.
Kira Royster, Brielle Barbuska.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But mainly it was Ariel, me and Luke, and Ashley Argata.
Yes.
Who's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of a culmination of like a lot of us here in town, really in this kind of same age. Like it was really like the crowd that we ran with in like 2016, 2017. It was kind of the culmination of those years, I feel like, that film.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how did you meet all of them?
Man. Okay. So Ariel, she's moved away now. It's kind of sad. We were really, really close friends. She lives in Nashville now with one of my old roommates and one of my old best friends, Luke Benward, who we just mentioned. And I actually met Ariel, I think, like before everyone. We were in a chemistry read together. And this is actually a really good story. Kind of like one of the really hard times of growing up here. Like before I didn't get the pilot, before the theme song wasn't mine, like this was the real first heartbreak of Hollywood that I experienced. Yeah, it's a good one. I met a few girls at this chemistry that I ended up knowing for a while. Ariel was probably the main one that I became really close friends with. The other one was Stephanie Scott, who ended up being on Disney. I didn't really end up being very close friends with her, but we've known each other for a long time. And then the other was Kat McNamara. And we became good friends as well. And Kat's absolutely killing it. And we were auditioning and chemistry reading for a version of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn.
Okay.
Movie didn't end up doing great. Kat ended up booking it it's over Ariel and Stephanie. Kat got it, and I didn't get it over Joel Courtney, who was in the kissing booth and Super 8. Great guy. And that was the first time I met Joel too. But I will tell this story. I met Ariel that day. It was one of my first kisses. I had to kiss 3 girls in one day. I was like, what the heck?
Just another day in Hollywood.
Yeah. And basically the casting department told my reps that I had the role. So, you know, they told me on the phone, I was all happy. We're going to Bulgaria to shoot. And that weekend, Super 8 came out. And Joel was obviously in that. It was literally like a couple days after the read, and I remember watching the MTV Music Awards because I knew Joel was going to be on it, and I had just done the read with him, against him rather. And I saw him on stage like with J.J. Abrams. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like I got the role over him, you know.
Yeah.
And that Monday after the MTV Music Awards, I get the call from my agent.
Shit.
And said, well, actually, you know, the director really likes Joel, especially with Super 8 just came out, and I think they're gonna give the role to Joel.
The clout.
The cloud. And I was beside it was terrible, bro. Like to have something seemingly like in your grasp. Like I've still yet to lead a movie. I have not done that. And it's something that I'm looking forward to. And that would have been a lead. And but everything happens for a reason. It didn't do that well and ended up being fine. But it just taught me a lot at that young age of like, in the industry and in life, like you really can't count anything as for sure until it's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You know, even if I had flown out and been in the movie, like it could get scrapped. Like, you know what I mean? I could get recast. Like it could not come out. So it taught me from a very young age to not get too attached to things.
That was something I had to learn also in my side of things. I may get tapped to mix something, or before this, I used to do, like while we were on this set, I was actually composing and doing stuff for like trailer music and whatnot. And you may be in the final cut, and on the mixing room floor, they scrap your track for another one, and you were told, you even know how much you're getting paid.
Yeah.
No, until it comes out and you see it.
Yeah. One of my friends was basically in The Idol, you know, the HBO show with The Weeknd, and the whole thing got scrapped and they made a new show. You know, like, and she was very new to the city, like just got here, and it was one of those stories that it would have been very quick.
Yeah,
you know,
that would have been crazy.
It would have been crazy quick, and she learned a lot. You know, she after it all happened, her whole attitude changed, and it humbles you really quickly. But that's just this industry. It's the way it goes. But anyway, back to meeting that whole crew. Ariel, Luke, Sterling. I ended up living with Luke and Sterling, and that was like a golden era for sure for me. You know, I was doing a lot of fun stuff. I was traveling. I was having like my first and second relationship and learning a lot, and shooting the show, doing the Kids' Choice Awards. You know, it was a whirlwind for sure.
It sounds like a little frat house. Like
it was. It was for sure. It was our non-college frat house, and we'd have a lot of parties, and you know, a lot of people would come, and people I still know today. It's funny, like looking back, you know, we're all in this 26, 27 age range, and things are just different. Things will just never be like they were. You know, like everyone's really grinding and trying to find their direction in life, and you know, less partying, less distractions. And it's great. It's awesome. But it's just, there's a lot less time that we get together and have those memories, you know, and it makes those times more precious when you can like plan a trip with your bros, or you can just have a party, or you can, you know, you go to a wedding. It's just like, we're at that point in life, and, you know, if you're not in that point in life yet, you will be, where it's just not all about partying anymore. Like it's about, okay, like how am I gonna survive? How am I gonna do this? You know, like it's a dog eat dog world, and you have to kind of forge your own path and kind of plan for the future. And that's kind of what we are talking about earlier. Since I turned 25, like things are just different for me. I don't know. And it's kind of recent. I'm going to be 27 at the end of the year, which is so crazy. So crazy. Like time has just gone by so fast since the show ended in 7 years. That's just wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was actually 2 years ago when we first heard that we might do a Thundermans movie. A long time ago.
Really?
And I was at EDC.
What a place to hear.
I was at EDC. I remember walking around the parking lot, like around my RV, like talking to my agent. And that was the first time I heard about it. And then it went away, and I didn't hear about it for a while. I figured it was canned, not happening anymore. And then we started to hear about it again, like later last year. And then over the holiday, over Christmas, I got the call that it was happening. And we were going to be shooting in March. That ended up pushing to April. And basically, it was just exactly what I would have hoped. I mean, there were definitely some hurdles that I personally had to get through. I got injured on set. I got sick, and I feel like that's just par for the course. Like it couldn't have been as easy as it was going. Like everything else was literally perfect. Like the people were perfect. Like the movie was perfect, pretty much. And but yeah, so I was doing some stunts and I didn't stretch out and I pulled my groin like really bad. I thought I tore it.
That is a terrible injury.
Really
I played
bad.
soccer and that injury sucked.
It was bad. I felt like I was like letting this kick out and I felt my like this ball in my hip like completely slide from one side to the other. Like I felt it.
Oh.
Yeah, it was so bad. And I pulled through somehow miraculously. Like I did like the whole massage gun thing and a lot of water, a lot of stretching, and I was able to pull through and do the scene. Because we have stunt doubles, but I want to do most of it if I can. But that was kind of one hurdle. And then the first week I went out and I shouldn't have gone out. I think I went to like emo night or something. And that's exactly what I did. And I got sick and I felt really, really bad. And I had to like apologize. And I said, I'm taking this really seriously. I'm really sorry. I'm not going to go out anymore. But I didn't get anyone else sick. So that was good. And but just the story, I think it's gonna make a lot of fans really, really happy. We touched on a lot of things from the show. We had a lot of the guest cast back. The story just makes sense. It's funny, and it feels like a culmination of all the years that we spent. And yeah, just seeing the fans' reactions just while we were shooting it. Was incredible. The really outpouring of support and love and just the fandom of the show really was revived. And we don't even have any real content or clips to post. Like it was just the fact that we were on set. So it was very, very cool, and I can't wait to see it. I actually got an email while I was here with you that I'm gonna see a little bit of it. I have a ADR session coming up, which is when you
Hell
go
yeah.
in the studio and dub some of the lines that they weren't able to get on the day.
Yep.
So I'll be able to like see the screen and match my lips,
Yeah.
So I'm gonna see a little bit of it. I'm really excited.
Yeah, basically he'll go into a studio, like a sound booth with the screen, and then it pops up with the words on the screen with kind of like a karaoke moving bar type thing, right?
Yeah, you have to track it. I think they call it, or they call it some word like running it or tracking it or basically lip syncing it.
Yeah.
Making sure you're like on time, which I'm actually pretty good at.
I would be so bad.
It's hard.
I would be so bad. I'm great at like Guitar Hero or like something like that, but I feel like speaking, I actually did it one time. I went to UCLA producer school just to learn some about that world, and we had to do it. I was trash. I'll be honest.
It's hard. And it's something you get better at as you do more and more of. I just did some for Don't Log Off.
Oh,
it's actually funny. Yeah, like a few weeks ago. Maybe a couple of months ago now, actually. But
what is time?
Right? Relative. But anyway, Thundermans it's crazy that it's coming back. I mean, not only to have done over 100 episodes, but the fact that it's still a thing. Like I get kids coming up to me that are really little because they just got put on Netflix this past year. Mm-hmm. Just the first 2 seasons. And I think the idea is to have people go to Paramount Plus from there.
I see.
But since it got put on Netflix, like a whole new generation of kids is watching it. I have kids that are out of college coming up to me and saying they watched my show, and it's such a wide demographic. It was also really big for co-viewing with parents and kids. Like a lot of parents enjoyed watching the show. There was a lot of jokes with our mom and dad on the show that were great. Like we had such a talented mom and dad duo. Like they were just so funny. Which a lot of Nick and Disney shows have, but it was really big for co viewing with parents and kids. So just the demographic is crazy, and the reach across the world has been just insane. And it's humbling because I have my own little life, and I keep pretty private. I don't really put everything online like so many people do these days. It's fine that they do, but I just don't. But I feel like my music is a way for me to connect to fans that feels right to me, and that feels good to me, because it's part of who I am, but it's still something that I feel proud of, and what I want to put out there. Like we give so much away as artists. I feel like who we are, that the other parts, I feel like at least me personally, I kind of want to keep to myself.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said for not just letting everyone one in, and I think that's fine for people that want to do that, but it just never felt. I just always kind of wanted my own privacy. Yeah, I'm just kind of that kind of person.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Not everybody wants to just have everything out there.
Yeah.
I think that's totally okay.
And I think I think it's also that like I can't, like whenever I do videos like that, or try to talk to the camera, like I just feel weird about it. And maybe it's insecurity, like we talked a little about that earlier, but I don't know what it is. I really don't. Maybe it's the fact that I grew up like saying lines that were given to me, and I feel weird just saying stuff on my own. That's why this is cool, this kind of format of a show, because there is no lines, but it is me, and it's all kind of off the top, which is cool.
Yeah, I really love this.
Yeah.
It's a great way to conversate. So I think that leads into the final question. And yeah, what does success mean to you? What at this point in your life, what does success mean?
I think success, at least to me, is directly tied to my relationships with people, whether they're going good or they're going bad. Success, I feel like, can be tied to failing and trying a lot of new things. Like it's kind of ironic because success and failing is kind of the opposite, but to me, it's all the same. So like things like going to class, acting class, and learning and failing and getting better. So success there. I mean, I think success is also expressing myself, not holding things in, because that is what's going to create problems for me in my life when I'm holding on to my trauma and holding on to my bitterness. I think bitterness is a big one too. Like success directly being tied to not having any kind of baggage or chips on your shoulders about things, and going forth in life with an open hand, being generous to people, because that nothing that we have is really ours anyway. It's all everybody's. That's why I try to give money to homeless people, like a lot. Like I like to always have like ones on me, because they say that giving is just feels so much better than receiving, and I think that's really true. I think there's a lot of virtue in being generous, and I think that if you are, things come back to you anyway. And not holding on to those things. Like I feel like as people, me especially over the past 10 years, like I've accumulated stuff. It feels so good and like comforting to like have stuff, but it's really like chains, like holding us down, like not being so attached to material things and being more minimal, and not holding on to these possessions, because these possessions can be something that sort of control us or make us feel a certain way. Like when I buy things, it's a way to like make myself feel important, and it's a lie. It's not real. You know, the things that are important in talking about success. You know, I've heard someone say that, you know, when you're old on your deathbed and about to go out, you're not going to be thinking about all those things that you should have gotten, like the new iPhone or the new Android or the coolest gadget or those clothes or anything like that. You're not gonna be thinking about those things. You're gonna be thinking, I wish I spent more time with the people that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Because you and I are the most important things in this room. I think we could both agree on, you know? And there's something to be said for that. Like, us people are what kind of make the world go, and we need to come together, you know? So I think success to me is cultivation. You know what I mean? Of is that even a word? Cultivating? Cultivation. Of creating communal processes, you know, like getting together and having people that are like-minded, like thinking the same, you know what I mean? It kind of contradicts too. I think that people should disagree. We were talking about earlier too, but yeah, like not going through life alone. I think for me personally, it's family. You know, like we talked earlier, I'm ready to like, you know, find my person, and and you know, I think that's a big part of success for me is if I'm able to be, if I'm able to get past a few things in this next few years that have been holding me back and become the highest functioning version of myself and attract someone that is also on that level, that will be success to me. Finding a partner in life that is going to not only motivate me to be that version of myself that I want to be, but also make me feel be my best friend, if that's what I'm trying to say. Like, because they say that like when you marry someone or you find someone, it's like it's all about who do you want to be there at the end of the day to talk to. Like, that's it. That's kind of what it all comes down to if you think about it. Like, there's a lot of planning that goes into family and business and whatever, but like when you think about it from a day-to-day level, you know, you might not see that person all day, but you do when you get in bed and pillow talk for the night. And it's really like, who do you want that person to be? And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for my best friend, you know? And a lot of people aren't focused on that, and that's fine. But I think the past couple of years, I have gotten to the point where like marriage, family is really important to me. I want to have kids, you know, I want to be a dad. And so right now, success is kind of setting myself up for that. Yeah. Like getting my finances in order, getting my life in order, attracting that person, getting married, probably traveling a little bit together for a few years. I mean, that's what everybody says, but like that's the dream, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, be kind of, we talked about working on ourselves so that everything else is kind of growing with us, like our career and stuff like that. So really doing that inner work, having everything else kind of grow with me with acting and with music and with finding a partner and having a family. Yeah, that's probably my ideal like world of success. And also like my immediate family right now also being like happy, healthy, you know, my parents working out their stuff, my siblings. Like, I think a big part of life is like when you're a high functioning person, you have a lot of positive energy, you kind of have a responsibility to the people you're around to help and motivate them. And it also comes at an exchange. You know, you gotta have to kind of be protective of your good energy, because when you give it, there's an exchange there. Like if you have people that are bums hanging around you all the time, they're gonna take that good energy.
For sure.
So there's a level of like, you want to give it, but you also want to protect it. But I think, like we were talking about earlier, how I started life coaching and I sort of started implementing those theories into my friend's life. Like, dude, what do you want? Like, what's getting out of your way? Like I think part of that motivating people and getting the people that are around you on your wave. Because I've heard people say, like, if you're rich, like, you don't want to hang out with poor friends because you can't do anything with them. You know what I mean? You can't have fun. You can't go on trips. You know, so you want to motivate the people around you to learn the things you're learning, so you can all start killing it together. You know?
I love that. Yeah.
So that's my answer.
That's a perfect way to wrap this up. Dude, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your wisdom and having a good talk with me and non-scripted.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been really fun.
Hell yeah, dude.
Hang loose. Keep it real.
Keep it real. All right. So now that you've listened to the episode, Jack is a character. I love this dude. Every time that I run into him around LA, we always catch up and have something funny to talk about. Or, he's a hilarious dude who's incredibly wise. And he has already worked so much. He has already done so much. And he's young. There's just so much room for him to grow. And I can't wait to see that happen. All right. So an interesting point that he made, and I want to highlight here because I haven't had any other guests talk about this, but if you were to come in contact with somebody who's famous or somebody who is a public figure that you want to develop a relationship with, you want to work with, he gives great insight. Just treat that person like a human being. Do not go up and put them on a pedestal and freak out about them. Don't gawk over them. Don't be a fan. Treat them like a human. Treat them like you would treat your friend, and have a normal conversation. And at the end of that conversation, ask for their contact information, Instagram, number, whatever it is, just nonchalantly. And then you can continue to develop the relationship just through messaging or texting. And whenever that has gotten to a certain point, then maybe you could talk about wanting to work with them or, whatever the goal is. But develop a relationship. Don't just put them on a pedestal and freak out, because that's going to turn them away, obviously. But ultimately, it's going to put you in a power position where now they look at you as somebody who needs something. And ultimately, we want to help each other. So I thought that was an awesome point. Thanks for making that, Jack. Here's kind of an actor-specific key point, but I actually really think that it works for so many other arts and whatever you're trying to achieve. So Jack said, if you want to receive callbacks, if you want to continue to get better as an actor, even if you have already booked some bigger gigs, or if you're just starting out, you need to be taking lessons, at least one a week. Find a teacher, a school that maybe has created a couple actors or talent that you really love what they do, and seek that out. I know this is a financial investment, but if you're trying to reach the top, or if you are trying to do this for a living, it's worth the money. This could also go for production, for mixing, for anything else. Like if you are starting out, or even if you've achieved some great things, you can always learn from others. And so just reinvest into yourself if this is the craft that you want to do for a living. And Jack said that currently he does one a week, but at points he's done two. So, use this and let it help you in your craft. Point number 3 is a sad but true one. Unfortunately, you cannot celebrate, or you can, but do not celebrate your wins until they're actually out into the world. We need them to be out in the world to actually know that they're going to solidify. Unfortunately, there are so many times for me and for Jack, as you heard, where you absolutely have a gig, right? Everybody has said so. You have been told by this person, that person, you've got the gig. In my case, I had music that was placed in trailers, and it was already cut and everybody said yes. And we already had a price that I was going to get paid or the publisher was going to get paid. And then an hour before they swap it out. And then I no longer have the placement. Jack, right before landing a gig, had someone come in and take the job because they had clout at that moment. And so, unfortunately, this is one thing. Just don't celebrate your wins until they are actually solidified and out into the world. If you are on set as an actor on a film, then you can celebrate the win. But until then, just keep your head down, keep working. Celebrate that you got the opportunity. Celebrate that they loved what you have. That is worth celebrating, and keep that momentum going forward. But until it's actually out into the world, you don't have it. It's a sad but true thing. And ultimately, for Jack, the definition of success, I'll read it here, is success is being the highest functioning version of yourself. Attracting those into your life while you are at the peak version of yourself is success. And I think that's awesome. Do everything that you can to feel amazing in yourself and to feel confident and walk into a room with your best self. And that's what's going to attract people into your life that are also at the peak of themselves. And it's going to help you surround yourself with people who are really doing great things. And that's going to propel you forward to success. I loved that. Thanks for listening to the Grounds for Success podcast. I want to thank all of the people who work on this podcast and help me out. My team is everything to me. And without them, I couldn't bring these to you every single week. I couldn't post on social media, with all the clips that we have. And so I thank you guys so much. I want to also thank all of my clients on the mixing and mastering side, because without you, I could not have Grounds for Success. So thank you so much. If you're enjoying the Grounds for Success podcast, please follow, like, and subscribe on whichever platform you're listening or watching on. It helps us out a ton, and I want to keep getting this content to you in whichever way you listen or watch.